Now that we are power back, welcome back to some more Stormworks. I'm StormRunner Gaming, and today I'm jumping back into some Stormworks, of course, and we are up here at the northern part of the outpost here, the northern bases, and I have a pretty cool truck sitting right behind me here. As you can see, there's some awesome suspension flex there happening, some off-road suspension that I've been designing for actually a few days now. Probably sunk maybe 10 hours designing a few different suspension systems. So I'm going to go down memory lane talking about the different designs I created, and I'm going to show you this result and a few other, because there's not exactly one that's the best. But of course, I will be putting up all the different versions up to the workshop. Of course, those links are down below if you want to go and pick them up and try these trucks out for yourself. But of course, all of these are a work in progress design here. So there is no one truck I'm going to call the final one yet. But so far, I am just going to release them and let you guys play with them. So here we go. So I'm going to jump into this guy first, and I'm going to explain all the different versions of the trucks a little while later. It's basically the different versions I have at the moment that I've designed are basically just different suspensions. There's small changes between all of them, between passive suspension systems and like a logic controlled one. But this version is a semi-logic controlled one with a little bit of passive system and a linear track in there as well. As if you do look in the wheel welds here, there is a few different connections in here. Of course, I did put in four-wheel drive for a off-road truck as well, and we have about 2 meters of clearance off the ground, or 6 feet if you are an American here. But yeah, this thing is crazy good off-road no matter what version you pick up. The Logic version does struggle a little bit because it is trying to make the best decision for you, but sometimes it does make the wrong decision. But as you can see, we're motoring along, and if we don't get too much of a tilt anywhere here, we shouldn't have a problem going over almost any surface here. Because the one big problem with this, although we do have a very beefy aircraft engine on here with a low gear, of course, to give us more torque and power over big bumps and stuff, the big problem is that the truck will fall over because it is so tall here. And I haven't done much to improve that, I'm sad to say, just because off-roading, you do need so much lift on your truck, but you also do need some weight to keep those wheels on the ground. But the big problem there is that you're going to roll over. So of course, you can have an amazing truck but still be really bad off-road if you just don't know how to drive it. So I would urge you guys to, if you are trying to take this off-road, take it slow, go into low gear with that number 2 button, put four-wheel drive on with the up arrow key and the right arrow key, and just go around watching that amazing suspension flex between all the bumps. I love watching the suspension curve and angle itself to get the most traction you can on all of these surfaces. Of course, because we are in the Arctic now, the snow is giving us a little bit less traction, so that four-wheel drive system is pretty amazing. And of course, the beefy engine system with that low gear means that almost any slope you can get up. So I've been designing this truck since I did that one off-roading episode. We are tilting a little bit on the edge of this mountain. It's getting me sweating here, but okay, looks like we've leveled out now. There is a bit of this part that is logic controlled, but that isn't as much as other designs. But yeah, like I was talking about earlier, I started designing the suspension system after I did the off-roading video about a week or two ago now. But I've only spent a few days on it because I am making other videos and college and such, as well as other obligations. But I'm loving where this thing is sitting at right now. Any of the version almost are really fun to play with. Well, the logic one, I just want to throw more and more logic for more tendencies, because the more logic I throw into like a microprocessor and something on there, the more eventualities it will know and be able to accommodate to. But I'm going to drive it back into the garage here and show off the couple different versions that I have designed for the suspension truck here. Real quick, one note, it's kind of on a little bit sillier, funny note here. So, as I've learned from the community, about 3 blocks is 1 meter, I believe. It might be 4 blocks, but as I was measuring the truck, I went 3 blocks is 1 meter. So my truck is 2 meters tall, which is 6 feet, and my guy cannot fit under it. Which means either the meter is maybe 4 blocks tall instead of 3, so we have about 1.5 meters of clearance on this truck, or our guy is about 7 to 8 feet tall, or 2.5 meters. That's crazy tall. I don't think, maybe it is that 4 blocks is 1 meter, but anyway, it's at least got 1.5, if not 2 meters of clearance on here. Anyway, we're gonna jump back into that garage and pick out a couple different versions here. Alright, we're gonna drop into the nerd zone here for a second or two, like most of my videos, but here are a few of the versions that I've gotten done of this suspension. I still have some more tests to run to find other versions that I can test out, see how well they work or how badly they flip the truck or something. But basically, we have the basic logic suspension one where all the pivots on there are controlled by tilt sensors that try to get the best angle. Then we have the linear track, which has some logic in it, but not so much. It's only got the main pivot, not the smaller pivots on there control it, but it also does have a linear track on each piece of suspension to control it. The third one is a free float suspension truck, so this one has no logical input anywhere. If you go over anything, no tilt sensor will help you try to correct on anything. And of course, we have a linear track fix, which basically takes the regular linear track with a little bit of logic and puts a value to that linear track so it tries to stay. But I also do want to throw a couple more versions in here. I do want to create one with like a PID or maybe threshold gates to actually control the linear tracks here to try to keep them in the middle instead of sliding. One of the main things this sliding does is give a better angle so that these can get a bigger pitch here to try to conform to the ground better under the vehicle. But the only problem with that is it can tip the axle a way you don't want it to, and that can cause it to flip, of course. But the version I like the most, actually, and I'm going to put as my prime one on the workshop, is going to be this linear track fixed one here. I will show off the other 3 right now. We have the free float one, which basically this one, all it's doing is it has no logical inputs. So as you can see, the crazy amount of flex, but even though it is up on these blocks representing some rocks or uneven terrain off-road, you can see that basically the weight of the truck just pushing down on the suspension isn't enough to keep all the wheels down. If we do decrease this by, I believe, a block on either side here, you can get it to the ground where one wheel isn't flying, but that is one of the bigger flaws with this system. Of course, the good thing about the free float system is that there is no logic that will make it incorrect choice. So there will never be any machine error here because the programming or the logic in here interprets something incorrectly and flips the truck then. This is basically the purest driving off-road experience you can get with only basic human driver error that can make you go off a mountain or something. It sounds bad when I'm talking about it now. Of course, the third design here, I'm just going to jump into it real quick, is just that linear track with some logic in it, but it doesn't have the 0 point on there. It kind of acts almost exactly like the linear track 0, but it just doesn't have a value on those linear tracks, so they're completely free floating. And our final design is the fully logic controlled system here. As you can see, it does struggle to keep those wheels on the ground, but unlike the other one, there is assistance on all of these joints that are getting power and stuff that are trying, putting all their might down on those pivots to try to keep the wheels down. And of course, if we do decrease this back one by one, because we are a little bit uneven, but if you do a 3 block up, this wheel will come to the ground. Unlike the free floating one where you need, I believe, like a 2 and a 3 to keep it on the ground. But this isn't so bad until you get to where the logic messes up, because it can't be 100% perfect. You basically just can't program for every situation that you're going to run into. And apparently I've got a block sliding. Oh, there we go. We're going over it. And for this final expedition here, I'm going to be taking the Linear Track 0 here, the best version I have at the moment out to do a little bit of off-roading here. So let's see how this goes. And I do want to stress that these are like early access versions. Like, we will have problems just like that. I didn't have it in low gear and I just floored it there. So let's actually get it off the base here. And I do want to point out that my logical versions are a bit flawed still. I may have the wrong version uploaded or something, because there's so many I've gone through now. And a lot of them have incorrect pivoting points. So I do need to fix that up and create it. So that one might come out a little bit later than the other trucks, even a little bit later than this video comes out. But anyways, let's get on an expedition here. And if you guys are driving these trucks, we do have an engine overheat warning because we have such a large engine and not as much cooling as I'd like on it. So it does run into the problem of overheating. So if you do keep watching from your driver's seat here, you'll see this light flashing when you go over 100 degrees. So just keep in mind that that wheel is about right before it is going to burst into flames, so just keep an eye on that while you are doing your 4x4 and around the map. I love playing around with this thing though. Like, we don't have any problems going down large bumps and stuff. We have plenty of clearance. The bumpers don't even hit. Most of the time the bumpers don't even hit. We'll get an occasional spot or something where the back end will hit the pavement or something, but usually we have plenty of clearance to go anywhere we want, really. And plenty of power too. You just have to watch that heat there. I'm surprised because I have 2 of the grates on the top of the engine bay there, and I've got 2 radiators inside of that engine bay, so I'm really surprised that it can't keep up with the amount of heat that this engine is producing. Of course, I am going to come back, and once I get the final version of this truck done here, I am going to do probably another video on it, if you guys do want to see that, because I do want to show off the final version and all of its abilities and different things that it can do, because of course these are work in progress things, so they have a lot of flaws to them. We finally made it over to the mainland to get some actual off-roading done over here, because I know we were slapped on the other mountain there, or the other island there, just doing some off-roading. Looks like this thing's a diesel with all the black smoke coming off the back end of it, but is it overheating? No, we don't have an overheat warning, but we're gonna have a jump. Hey, we're good. Perfect. And it's taken all this terrain like a champ here. We are getting a bit of a jump because of the speed we're at. We are not in low gear at the moment, but seems like it is coping pretty well nonetheless. And we do not want to get it in the ocean though. That's one thing it is not suited for at the moment. It doesn't have any air tanks or exhaust tanks to take any water or anything on. I mean, you can dip its feet or its toes into the water, but other than that, it can't take much water nonetheless. But we have plenty of power to go anywhere else, though. I mean, I think mountains are a little bit of a challenge, though. Maybe that'll be the final send-off here. Let's see if we can get to the top of this mountain over here. I'd honestly be surprised if we can make it up there, but I have my doubts. We definitely do have low gear here to help us out instead of the quick gear we're in at the moment, but I mean, speed is key in some aspects, so okay, I'm gonna throw it into low gear now. Getting a lot more crawling effects with a little bit of tilt, a little bit more tilt. We're making it to the top of this mountain. Holy. This thing's a champ here. It's the king of the hill now. If someone dethrones me, it's going to be a challenge. I don't even know what type of English is right there. I had about 30 different sounds fly through my mouth, but we are the king of the hill here. Don't let me down, truck. Get me there. Hey, we're there. And I'm going to throw it into photo mode real quick because that looks awesome. We are kind of flying off the mountain already. I wish I could go back a second or two. But look at that right there. King of the hill. King of the hill for about 5 more seconds. I forgot most of the versions don't have any brakes yet either. So if you press S or anything, it won't stop. It keeps rolling. So yeah, we're just gonna keep rolling off this mountain here. That's not good at all. Oops. I guess that's a send-off for it nonetheless. So here we go. Well, it's been good knowing you, truck. Ooh, it's gonna take a beating going down. Yep, there goes the back end. And water damage. It doesn't even float, it's so heavy. If it started up, that'd be crazy, but looks like there's another vehicle sunken to the bottom of the ocean here. I'm going to get out before I do run out of oxygen. So let's send off for some rescue crews. And I'm going to get back, take a shower, and we're going to end it there. Alright guys, so of course if you do want to pick up any of these different versions I've been talking about, you can go over to the workshop. I'll leave all the links down below, of course. But yeah, that is where I'll be ending it. So if you guys do have any suggestions for me on the truck, anything I can add to it, make it a little bit better off-roading, you can leave a comment down below or join the community Discord. But anyways, that is about all the time I do have today. So if you guys like this, please leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel to stay up with Stormworks and more of my content. But I've never been great at goodbye, so people need me and I need to go.